Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing stories from real estate investors and how investing has changed their lives. This episode of the Inspire to Invest podcast has been brought to you by the Wealth Club. Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire to Invest. I have Brandon and Carol here from Medalo Properties. They are a husband and wife dynamic duo based in Burlington, and they began their professional lives working in high-ticket sales and public accounting. They kicked off their real estate investing career in 2015, and they attacked the market in 2019 with their first conversion project in Hamilton. Since then, they've grown their portfolio to more than $500,000 a year in rental revenue, which is amazing, not including any of their other ventures like the mortgage business, Airbnbs, flipping, and also sales consulting. They also help educate others about real estate investing through their social media channel, which is amazing. I've been following along and enjoying all your content and footage. Through also their mortgage business, one-on-one coaching, where they help others build multiple streams of income, protect their time, and increase the overall quality of their lives. So thank you so much for being here today. How are you both?
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having us.
So I guess just to kick things off, so obviously you guys had this other career prior to 2015. What was really the catalyst to moving over into something of this nature? Because obviously it's quite the change for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say like most young couples in Canada, we're working our jobs, we're trying to scale that corporate ladder, and really at the same time finding that it just wasn't fulfilling, right? We were working towards this retirement whenever that's going to be, but we had this, I'd say, innate desire in each of us to work harder, make sure that we're making ends meet, and ultimately choosing what we get to do next. And so when you're an employee, you really don't get to choose a lot, right? You're chasing things instead of choosing it. We also grew up in immigrant families, and the instability and things like that we went through really showed us that, we could only take control of so many certain things when everything else that's happening around us is just kind of life, right? It's just happening.
Yeah.
So, I was working multiple jobs. I was making more money than ever. I felt really empowered, but I guess not educated. And so what I wanted to do was, well, actually, Kara was working too. She's a CPA. She's working at a big company, a big firm. But for so many years, we were really just relinquishing control of our lives for the sake of building someone else's dream. So, we thought if this is what life is supposed to be like, then why is it so stressful, right? And so that really just turned us to want to do something different.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have been there, where you're working a job and you're giving suggestions, but you're not necessarily being heard, or, you work really hard, but then you get overlooked for a promotion, and you realize that as much as you think that your job is safe, it really is very risky to just be relying on one stream of income and letting that person dictate how much or how little you make, right? And so for us, we had a lot of things happen. That we had an unfortunate famous situation that actually wiped a lot of our savings. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'm a single child. Like, if this happened again, my job could not support this. And so we realized we get to choose, and we got to educate ourselves and actually be aware of what the options are so that we can take more control.
Yeah, and I know we had the chance to obviously meet back in January when we were at the crew event. So I did get to hear a little bit more about that story, but maybe you want to just give people a general idea of what that looked like and really how that impacted you to kind of put you onto this path.
Yeah, so my grandma was visiting from Colombia, and while she was here, she started to get really ill, and to the point where she couldn't travel back home. She did have travel insurance, but because she was so sick, that travel insurance expired, and when we tried to renew it, they said, well, now she's been sick, so she can't renew it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she ended up having cancer while she was here, and we ended up having to have her in the ICU for like a year, sorry, not a year, a month. And it was very expensive. It was very expensive. It was like thousands of dollars every single day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really wiped our family savings, and it just made us realize, like, it wasn't even just the hospital bills, right? Like, a lot of people think, oh, well, in Canada, healthcare is free. It is, until you need healthcare outside of the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Like, my grandmother, she had, I forget what it's called, but she had some medical care that needed to happen like in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And so needed to hire help. That's very expensive.
Yeah.
And it was like, you could either be there helping her, or you had to be working, but you couldn't be bringing in money and being there for her at the same time. And,
Yeah.
after going through that situation, I told myself I never want to be in this position again.
Yeah.
And again, this was combined with other things that were happening, building up throughout our lives that I think a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
But it really was just a rude awakening
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, like when you look at your life and your priorities shift when it comes to different things, right? So it's one thing when you're just kind of like a single person working and you can put in the 80-hour work weeks and stuff like that. And sometimes you'll compromise, but it's not the same impact compared to when families involved, whether that's aging parents or children and stuff like that. And I think it really puts different things into focus. So, there's kind of like those seasons that we go through. But for you guys, like when you experience something like this, um, how did real estate specifically get on your radar as maybe, the way out of situations like that to give yourself a better, just put yourself in a better position should anything like that in like life come up?
Yeah. No.
So everyone, go ahead.
Again, there was a lot of little moments, right? So my mom was an interior designer back home in Colombia. So I feel like I've always been exposed to real estate. And I'm obsessed with HGTV shows. So like, those flip shows and how much they make.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the couch at one point with Brandon and I'm like, we could do this. Like this, I know they make it seem easier and they have contacts and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm like, what's stopping us from doing this, right? And so at that point we started getting more involved with the community. We hired a coach. We started working with people that had been where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more we navigated in that space, the more we realized like, holy crap, there's a lot more to know. And it just kept getting more and more exciting the more we got into the space.
So how long would you say it took from like when you worked on your first project to when you started really scaling? Like, I guess I know we talked about the 4 years, but was that when you kind of jumped into it? Like, are you both full-time working in this now, or did one of you keep your active income just to like have that balance?
Yeah, I love that question because I know we get asked it a lot, and I always find it funny. People always say you shouldn't be working with people unless they're full-time investors. So like, what does that actually mean? And for us, we've been continuously investing since we started, and so we really haven't stopped. And most recently, we're moving to the U.S., focusing on like vacation rentals, and focusing on our strategy, continuing to build that portfolio. So, I think any solid investor needs an active income. It's not just every single property that's going to fund what you're doing next, right? I think you need an active income for your lifestyle, and then you also need an income coming in that's going to help you generate wealth in the long term. So does that mean that one income is our side hustle, or does that mean we're full-time entrepreneurs? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying though, because everyone's going through this turmoil in the industry in the last little while, right? And I think for some people that thought they could depend on real estate 100%, there are a lot of instances where people are going back to work and stuff like that, right? Because they've got properties that are cash flow negative or they've experienced different challenges and stuff like that. So I do see, the benefit of having that balance. I think just the real estate investing gives you options, right?
That's exactly it,
Totally.
right? And that's at the core of everything that we want to encourage people to have is just options. So like we do love the entrepreneurial journey. We love having a steady income and we love what we do outside of real estate.
Yeah.
But this also helps us, like having both at the same time, it also helps us ensure that we're not just trying to replace a job with a job, right? Like we really have to set up systems so that things can run on their own. And we're really passionate about both. And what we just, like you said, we just love the option to choose, to have options. And then if something isn't serving us anymore, we're no longer enjoying that, we can decide, okay, well, this can go, right? Versus, if you just have the one thing, then that's all there is, right? And for us right now, it's working for sure. Again, when it doesn't serve us, then maybe we'll shift directions. But this helps us sleep very soundly at night.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, now when you look at the last 5, 6 years, what would you say are some of the biggest obstacles or challenges that you've faced while you've been growing your portfolio? Because obviously you guys have touched on a lot of different things, so I'm sure it hasn't always been like sunshine and rainbows.
No, for sure. I mean, and I think that I think Carol and I were talking about this the other day, and it really, I think she summed it up the best, is that there's always challenges and obstacles, right? At first getting started was, oh my gosh, we don't really know what we're doing. So we had to overcome this kind of fear obstacle, or this obstacle of thinking that, like, are we good enough? Do we deserve this? Right. And you are, right. Absolutely everyone is deserving enough and able to do this. Right. So we had to get over that fear. And I think those type of obstacles and thoughts never really end. Right. Then it was like, okay, let's get started. And now like, okay, now we're going to raise capital. Oh my gosh, are we going to be able to pay people back? We're going to complete a flip. Is it going to sell? So there's always different obstacles, like completing our first renovation, right? The obstacle in the past few years for most people is they've been on variable rates, right? So the obstacle of, hey, maybe I quit my job and maybe I had all this cash flow, but it's not there anymore. Can I afford to float these properties? Can I afford to pay back my lenders? So I think there's always obstacles, but what's important is I think the mindset that we have is that we love obstacles because that means that we're getting closer to our goals. There's different levels to this, and we always want to be learning. So those experiences, and I think Carol said it the other day too, is that those experiences are what's going to help us grow. Like there's potential to go on YouTube, learn all this theory. You're not going to be growing, you're not going to be experiencing it unless you go through these obstacles yourself. And that's super important in anybody's journey. So for us, having that hands-on experience, although it's daunting sometimes, maybe you lose sleep sometimes, we've come out of that as stronger people. We've come out of that as a better couple, as a better duo and team. And it's benefited us throughout our journey and also the people that work with us.
Yeah. So to answer briefly, the biggest obstacle is that there's always an obstacle.
Yeah.
And you have to get comfortable with that, right? Like if you wait for the perfect moment to have a clear path to success, you're never going to invest because it's never going to happen. And you just have to know that at the end of the day, you can't be attached to the outcome. Like it's not failing or success, it's success or lessons. And each lesson will give you more confidence. And I think this is one of my favorite quotes, but like Kobe said it best, whether you win or you lose, you got to wake up and do it tomorrow all over again, right? Your life doesn't change that much if you win or you lose. So just fall in love with the process and know that at the core, there's no challenges that you can't overcome. And I always ask, like, for example, our students this, what is the biggest challenge that you've had in your life that you haven't been able to overcome? And not a single person ever says, oh, this one challenge, that I haven't been able to overcome. Like everyone overcomes challenges. So I think the sooner you realize that and the sooner that you get comfortable with the fact that you're going to have obstacles and you're going to overcome them, the easier it's going to be and you're going to be able to succeed.
Is there anything that you would say, like you look back on and you're like, I wish I knew then what I know now? Like, obviously you're going to face these different things, but is there anything that you'd look at like, like things could have been a little different had I known this, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'll let her answer this one.
I'm very passionate about this, but when we first started, everyone says, go variable because you're going to save a ton of money. And while I understand where that came from, and it really saved us a lot in terms of potential penalties if you're breaking a mortgage, when you have a larger portfolio, like this is where like it's not a one size fits all. So when you have a larger portfolio, there are certain properties that I think could have served us a lot better being in a fixed. And even though it might have cost us more over the term of the mortgage or whatever it is, when you have that constant variable in your mind and the fluctuation, it also holds you back from being able to do other things, right? So while on paper, things might look more expensive because it's a higher fixed rate, again, that uncertainty, like we've had money sitting on the sidelines for so long because I'm like, okay, I can afford it now, but like it's so uncertain that like what happens a year from now, right? And I feel like that there's a cost associated to that, right? Like it's an opportunity cost as well. So I think that, you have to balance like your margins and you have to balance how much money you're keeping in the business with also your ability to sleep at night, and don't neglect the fact that there's an opportunity cost associated with headaches.
And someone said that actually recently to me, just when they were talking about commercial real estate, that they felt like you should always be in a fixed because it's just the best way to manage your budget. And yes, you could say maybe you could have saved money when things were like 2 or 3%, but no one expected things to be in the range of like 7 or 8%. So obviously, if you are siloed and you're depending on rental income, like you need to make sure that you are covering all of those things, right? So running your numbers from the standpoint of fixed, and then also having like your money put aside just in case of emergencies and stuff like that. They kind of felt like that would always be the way to go. And even when I look at a lot of investors that have had troubles now in the last year, I'd say the two things, it's like, they were in variable and they waited too long to maybe shift to fix or didn't shift to fix. So they literally just couldn't meet their payments. And then they scaled too fast. So if they scaled too fast, there wasn't enough equity in other properties to kind of make up the difference when they did finally themselves in these cash crunch situations.
Yeah.
Flipping to the other side, so obviously we talked about some challenges and lessons, but what would you say is one thing that you're most proud of when you look back?
Most proud of, I would say we really started this journey with just $15,000, right? So overall, like I don't think it's one specific project, but I think there's been a lot of consistency and resilience along the way, and we've been able to take that 15,000 to over a $10 million portfolio and then other businesses. So I think that that's something we're really proud about. That and the fact that we've been able to now take those lessons that for a long time we took for granted as like things that we should have known, or that everybody knows, and now we've taken that and been able to instill that into our students and be able to have a huge impact in terms of their monthly savings, or our mortgage clients, right? Like we've helped people save thousands in terms of tax fees, in terms of mortgage stuff, and so for us, like having that impact, even sometimes like a 30-minute conversation has been huge. So I would say it's a little bit of twofold there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's not even just the impact that we've had on, I'd say like what we call clients or students, but also the positive impact we were able to have on our families. One thing that we were able to do was bring my mom in-house and give her a job that gives her a lot more flexibility, something that she loves to see her son succeed, right? And so doing what she was doing before, it wasn't as rewarding as what it is now.
Yeah.
It doesn't give her the flexibility that it does give her now. So being able to help people in our family, whether it's giving them opportunities to change their work or their lifestyle, and also giving family and friends opportunities to invest with us and to make money off of, maybe they don't want to get into real estate, but they want to do something with somebody that they trust. And that's been very impactful for us, and me especially.
Yeah, no, I know that's huge. So on that positive note, we're just going to take a really brief break from a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome to the Wealth Club, an exclusive community dedicated to elevating your journey towards financial freedom, well-being, and success. The journey to 1% starts here. Join like-minded leaders and commit to growth for the mind, body, bankroll, and soul. Learn all the proven techniques to change your life forever with direct access to a massive team of more than 10 tried and true experts. Moreover, members enjoy priority access to investment opportunities, job openings, and partnerships within the community. For just $1 a day, members gain entry to specialized forums covering a wide spectrum of fields, discover diverse income streams, new opportunities, collaborations, and employment. Partake in weekly Zoom calls with our team and join monthly live Q&A sessions. Compete and win cash prizes. Active members top the leaderboard for monthly rewards. Ready to get started? Join today to unlock your true potential. To sign up, go to scroll.com/The Wealth Club. I value transparency, integrity, and trust. If you choose to work with me, you can be assured that business will be conducted honestly and openly. Time is of the essence in this industry, so you can expect nothing short of quick, clear communication from me. I'll keep you informed every step of the way so you feel comfortable throughout this entire process. Our homes are where we eat, sleep, relax, and play. My clients' best interests are at the heart of everything I do. And with this said, my service to you doesn't end when the transaction does. As your realtor, I'll not only help you buy and sell your property, I'll also educate and support you along the way. I want to help you fulfill your goal of home ownership and become your trusted real estate resource for life. I can't wait to share my passion for real estate with you. More importantly, find you the perfect house to turn into your home. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in Durham Region or Toronto? Let's chat. Is the real estate investment you're considering a gold mine or a landmine? Introducing PropertyCast.io, the black magic of real estate investment analysis. Use PropertyCast.io to analyze and underwrite real estate investment opportunities, unlock the potential of a property, and share professional reports. Jordan McGregor is a commercial realtor and founder of PropertyCast.io. He identified the need to simplify and streamline how properties are underwritten to help investors make better decisions and sound investments. PropertyCast.io is a best-in-class purpose-built tool for real estate investment analysis. To find out more, go to PropertyCast.io, and to sign up, click the link in the show notes. Inspired to Invest is proud to support the Beyond Success program. In today's complex world, it's absolutely crucial for our youth to learn how to take charge of their financial future. We believe that every young person deserves access to accurate, practical financial information. Designed to bridge the gap, the Beyond Success program leverages a comprehensive educational bootcamp to equip young minds with essential financial literacy skills. At Beyond Success, it's not just about teaching financial literacy, it's also about fostering a foundation for a prosperous and empowered future. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspired to Invest. I've got Brandon and Carol here from Medalo Properties, and they're talking about how they turned $15,000 into a portfolio worth over $10 million with over $500,000 a year in annual rental revenue. So they've done a lot of really amazing things. Now, one thing I always like to ask guests on my show is, what's one of the craziest things that you'd say has ever happened to you as a real estate investor?
That's a good one. I think being approached by production companies and news outlets like HGTV and CTV has been pretty awesome. And also being able to speak on stages and have the opportunity to interact. I'm a theater student by trade, and so having an audience is always nice, and that's why I think we love being on social media too. But those opportunities are definitely fantastic. Being able to impact people in a live audience, even if it's just one person, giving them a tip or sharing some advice that we know that's going to help them, and they walk away with something tangible. That's been, I feel like that's pretty crazy. Like people walk up to us and tell us how much that we've been able to help them.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Yeah, we had actually somebody that moved to Canada from Africa, and they found us at an event, and they were saying that they were following our journey for so long and that they couldn't wait to meet us in person. So again, just that impact overall is pretty awesome because you don't realize it, right? Again, sometimes we take what we know for granted, and we just talk as if like, everyone knows this stuff, but in just 30-minute conversations, we really have helped people save thousands, like tens of thousands of dollars. And that's always so amazing. So
Now, on the standpoint of advice, what would you say is some of the advice that has been passed along to you that you feel like has really revolutionized your journey?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think the biggest hurdle for anyone is really understanding that you've got to pay to play, right? And paying is not just monetary. There's many different ways. So what you want is going to cost you, whether that's monetarily, mentally, physically, sometimes friends and family, right? Like there's many ways that you have to pay the price and ultimately sometimes sacrifice things. But I think that you have to choose your path over everything else. You have to choose you over everything else. And that doesn't mean being mean to people, right? That just means that you have to approach it with a relentless attitude. With an approach of this is what I want to accomplish, and really nothing's going to get in my way. So if you're that person that says I'll do things later, or I'm going to do it soon or next time, you're always going to be stuck where you are until you actually decide to really take control and go all in. So taking that action, and that's why for us the big motto is going from chasing to choosing, right? Instead of chasing things, we're deciding exactly what we want to do. And those choices are very, very intentional and purposeful for us.
Yeah. No, that's huge. Do you want to add something, Carol?
No, I was just going to say that a lot of people just choose to neglect some of the stuff because it's difficult, but they don't realize that by neglecting, they're making a choice, and they think that it doesn't cost them, but it is costing you. And so I think the sooner you realize that, the more comfortable you get with just getting out there and doing something. And if you don't know what to do, then work with somebody who is where you want to be or has done what you want to do. And that's going to help fast track things, right? Like I remember when we first hired our first coach, I was so uncomfortable because I'm like, this is a lot of money. Like, oh my gosh. And then, within 1 month, we made that money like 10 times fold just because of the network and different things that you learn along the way. And then I just realized like, holy crap, like if I wouldn't have done this, I don't know, like it would probably take me like 10 years. Right. And again, that costs you. So, invest in yourself, and the sooner that you choose to do that, the better. Don't think that because you're not taking action, or you're not making a decision, that it's not a decision, because again, that in itself is a decision. So
Yeah, I saw someone actually speak on that recently, and they talked about the cost of lost opportunity. And, it could take me a year or 2 years to figure out this out by myself, or if I could pay someone 20 grand, I can figure out in 2 weeks and put myself ahead by a year or 2 years in, whatever capacity that is, right? So I think, yes, you need to be mindful of the risk and reward and cost benefits and stuff like that. But that's the whole purpose of having coaching and mentorship and learning from other people and stuff to get you really where you want to go faster, which perfectly leads to my next question about financial freedom and what's next for you. So do you have a particular number that reflects financial freedom? And, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a number of doors or portfolio value or something. It could even be just like your return on time or something, right? So working 2 days a week compared to 5, like, what does that mean to you guys?
Go ahead, take the.
Yeah, I think for us, we've kind of moved away from the dollar figure. Like for us, we're kind of focusing on, okay, what's the next project that makes sense? What's a return that, on our time that we're satisfied with, right? So for example, like we bought our last property here in Canada last week. It's probably going to be the last property for the next year or so. We're really shifting gears and going towards the arbitrage model in the US. It's something different that I think it's more accessible to people, but we always like to get proof of concept before we go out there and talk about this stuff and teach these things to other people. So that's why we're doing that. Our goal is to hit like $50,000 a month in cash flow over the next year. Again, not necessarily like we want to get there because we know that we can, but it's not necessarily because that's the number for financial freedom. It's just that's our goal.
For that side, that vertical, yeah.
Exactly. And so again, for us, we're just taking it one project, one decision at a time. Like I said, the last one was an investment in Edmonton that we closed on last week. And then the next thing is really just going to be moving to the US and learning those lessons so that we can take them and teach other people how they can do that. And the reason we like it is because it's a little bit more money, less money down. Obviously, it comes with its own sets of risk, which is why we want to pioneer that space. But that's kind of the goal now. I think we're happy with our portfolio in terms of long-term buy and holds. And we're just seeing what we can do on other fronts and how we can expand the reach to the people that we're trying to help.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Now, I know that you talked about a quote that really resonates with you earlier, but in closing, I always like to ask people what's a quote that really motivates or inspires them. So maybe, Brandon, you can pipe in with a quote that you like.
Yeah, and maybe it's the child in me, but I love a quote by Walt Disney. And that's all your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. We were fortunate enough to spend some time in Florida this winter and take our kids to Disney, and so I was really inspired by that again. And I just love that I get to watch those movies again now that my son has just turned 3 and he's getting interested in some of those cartoons.
Yeah, that's awesome. So nostalgic.
Yeah,
exactly.
So for anyone that wants to get in touch with you, I know that you share a lot of valuable content, but what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, so we're Medalo Properties across all platforms, and we're really here to provide resources and tools and make people feel educated and empowered to make better decisions. So if you need help in that front, reach out to us. We're happy to help. And hope to see you along the journey.
Awesome. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be here today. Of course, if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow along on social at Inspired to Invest Podcast. And remember, when you invest in yourself, the sky's the limit. Thanks again. Thank you to the Wealth Club for bringing you this episode of Inspired to Invest. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.